I really wish you would read that for them.
No.
I know you can't.
Someone posted something weird on one of the church Facebook pages, and we blocked them and deleted the post. But we saved it, and we were just laughing about it.
We were giggling. So, speaking of which, if you're on Facebook, you should join that group. It's called CC Family Connection.
Yeah.
You might see some weird stuff. But anyway, we haven't even said welcome. Welcome to House Parties.
Hello.
Hi, guys. We're excited you're here. Oh, man, it's been a couple weeks since we last met.
Right, because we had spring break. Hope
Spring
you had
break.
a great spring break.
I know. Any of you guys go to anywhere cool? Like, let your house party know. I know some people went to, like, Disney World.
What? I don't want to hear about that.
Do you really want to go to Disney World?
No. Yes.
Do you want to pay to go to Disney World?
Yeah, dude, it's so worth it.
It's like at least $1,500 to take your family.
No.
Yeah.
That
just
depends
tickets for.
on.
All right, you're gonna go at least 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
If you go.
Yeah.
That alone is gonna cost you about $1,500 because
That's
it's like
worth it.
$150 a person.
It's not with kids my age. It's not worth it. But
Yes.
like,
I would like to go with my wife
yeah.
and then maybe my oldest kids.
Yep. My wife and I went before we had kids, and we laughed at all the people with kids having a miserable time.
So imagine going with 2, then picture going with 5. You know how much that would set me back? Lunch would
A lot.
cost me about $200 at Disneyland.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome. We're excited you guys are here. Got a couple quick announcements for you to kick it off. First one is this. First week of April, we have another student night. It's going to be good. Stetson's
Yes.
teaching. It's the 4th. Michael Brammer, our new worship pastor, he's leading.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
That will be great.
I know. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And then we've got our summer calendar coming out pretty quick as soon as we get it made.
Lots of fun things.
But we've let your parents know we're doing a baseball game in May.
Yep.
We're doing a movie night at the Crest in
Yep.
June. We've
Yep.
obviously got the mission trip in
Yep.
July.
Yep.
And then we've got the food truck / bonanza in August. So it's gonna be a pretty good summer.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
It'll be really good.
Speaking of which, mission trip. If you guys want to go, get signed up.
Yeah. And if money is a reason why you feel like you can't go, you're
Stetson
wrong.
will pay for you.
No, I won't. But here's the thing. There are people in our church who
will.
specifically
Yeah.
donated money for people who can't afford to go to be able to go. They're a really incredible family, and they want you to go. So let us
Like,
know
they
if you
gave,
can't.
Like thousands.
Yeah, they really did.
It's pretty cool.
Yep.
So come with us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can even lie about needing the money. I don't really know.
No, don't
Don't lie.
that.
Don't lie. All right. Well, hey, we got some slices. What do you got?
Have you seen the Batman?
I have. It's good.
I haven't seen it yet, but I want to.
Batman dies.
Okay. Well,
He doesn't actually.
that was the slice. There was a movie theater in Texas, and they were showing the Batman, but it got interrupted by something. Any guesses as to what it was interrupted by?
Well, I have one guess, but I'm not going to say it.
Okay. It's weird.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I don't know. Teletubbies?
A bat.
Oh.
A bat flew into the theater, which is just like ironic, and also like these people went in wanting to see the Batman, and they were bothered by the fact that a bat was present.
Well, they wanted to see the Batman, not a bat.
I know, but
Like, would you go see a movie called The Bat?
yes, if it was good, why not?
What if it was just like following a bat around the sky for...
That sounds like a terrible movie. I would not see that.
I know.
But some people, they stayed, and they actually enjoyed the experience.
It's like you're in the Batcave.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Some people think it was a prank, and so now they're checking people's bags for bats.
Ooh, that just gave me a really good idea. Yeah. All right, so that actually leads really well into my slice.
All right.
Which was kind of a revelation for me. I feel like I've been lied to for the last like 34 years of my life.
Yeah.
So movie theaters. What's the one thing you typically do when you go there? If you're trying to be frugal.
What? I don't know. Not buy food?
Okay, what do you do if you're hungry?
Oh, you bring in food?
You bring your own food.
Yeah.
And what do we typically do with that food?
We eat it.
We eat it, but we also hide it.
Oh, right.
Right? We hide
Okay,
it because there's
yeah.
this. narrative out there that tells you you're not allowed to bring food into movie theaters. No outside food, right? You got to buy it there. Well, what if I told you that there is not a single movie chain that actually has that rule?
Wow.
Yeah. There is not a single movie chain in all of the United States that has a rule that says no outside food or drink.
Interesting.
I know. It's just this like narrative that they've allowed to kind of be perpetuated so that people will show up and buy their food. So if you walk into the movie theater down over at the Greeley Mall, just take a big old bag of like McDonald's with you, or maybe a big
chili.
A big bag. You have this picture of that scene in The Office with Kevin walking in and then he drops it on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Allie and I, when we were, Allie's my wife, on the flight back from our honeymoon, we were really hungry and poor and didn't have much money, and the only thing we could afford was from the Chili's in the airport, and the cheapest thing on the menu was chili. But our flight was boarding, so we took the chili and got in the airplane. They shut the doors.
Oh, no, you're those people?
We opened the chili and realized how strongly it smelled of chili. The entire plane smelled like chili.
Because of you.
Because of us. Yeah.
And so, I mean, well, honestly, if anybody farted on that plane, you probably would have been blamed for that. It'd have been like, oh, those two
It's
ate
the chili people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they ate chili.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right, well, that's going to do it for Slices.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to give them a little recap of where we've been lately?
We are looking at the book of 1 Timothy. It is a letter that a man named Paul wrote to a guy named Timothy. He's probably like his early 20s, wouldn't you say?
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. And we're doing it for one because a lot of times we don't really have any... Well, we don't feel we have any reason to like open up the Bible and actually look at it and read it. We just talk about spiritual things, or we look at one verse, but it's every once in a while we try to like do a series where we're actually like reading through the Bible and seeing for itself like what it actually says.
Yeah.
So Nathan and I, we're going to talk about things that stick out to us that you could talk about, or you can just talk about whatever you see and you want to talk about. I got to stop drinking this. Otherwise, I'm going to like be burping into the microphone, and I don't even know why I'm drinking seltzer water. It's like, pick a lane. Be water or soda.
Well, I mean, there was literally soda in there you could have drank it.
I know, but...
Trying to be healthy, but you
I
just
guess
ate the ice cream.
Being healthy is terrible.
It is. Don't be healthy,
it's
guys.
It's not worth
it. Die young, live free.
Okay.
All right, so we're in 1 Timothy 3, so we've already gone through a couple chapters of this. And again, our goal is just exploring God's word, saying like what's here that we can take.
Yep.
And I do like that this is written to a young guy,
right?
Because I think a lot of times like people make the assumption, hey, I can follow Jesus when I get older, I can be used by Jesus when I get older.
Yep.
And yet here you've got this young guy being used to do some incredible things in this church that he was leading.
Yep.
And my hope is that maybe you guys would even see for yourselves like, hey, like if God can use Timothy, he could probably use me too.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and last week we talked about where Timothy lives, a place called Ephesus.
Yep.
Weird stuff going on.
Very weird stuff.
Crazy beliefs, crazy religious cultish practices that kind of clear up some weird things that it says. Not so weird when you understand why it's being said. So
then it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all about that kind of weird. Well, cool. Right. What'd you see in chapter 3?
All right. Well, okay. Here's the thing about chapter 3. There's a lot here. I don't know. It's a short one. I don't know if I even want to read anything myself. You can if you want. But I was trying, because I feel like last time, at least for my group, we talked about so much stuff our group didn't even have anything to talk about. And so I'm trying to avoid talking about too many things. But I think it would be good to clear up what an overseer and a deacon is, because it's talking about deacons and overseers.
Yeah. And we'll let you guys talk about the specific things that Paul says about those groups.
Right, and you can bring it up if you want to, but for me, like, what is a deacon and what is an overseer is kind of my main thing.
Cool, well, take it away.
I didn't look it up. I was relying on you to know what an overseer and a deacon is.
Yeah, so an overseer, think
I'm not
elder.
going to drink that. I reached for the seltzer water.
Reach for the seltzer water. So an overseer would be somebody who's like an elder in the church, right? This is somebody who has a spiritual position within the church to be able to oversee a lot of the people who are actually members of that church. So in like our context, we do have elders.
Yep.
Right? We've got a group of people who supervise our pastors, a group of people who are responsible for really kind of guarding some of the things that we believe as a church, some of the things that we do as a church.
Yep.
And there's, obviously qualifications for them and all that kind of stuff, but that's an overseer. Now, a deacon, well, I should say this too, back then, the overseers, those were also kind of the pastors.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Okay.
So, like in the Bible, you didn't really separate between an elder and a pastor. It was always a pastor elder.
All right.
Right. So think pastors. And then deacons, in our context, think like ministry directors.
Okay.
So this would be kind of like a group of people who had responsibilities within the church. Right. So like some people, you can read about this in the book of Acts, like they would be responsible for distributing the food to the poor.
Okay.
Other people would be responsible for taking care of the widows. Those would be the deacons, right? So there are people who are servants of the church, and they have a very specific role and function within the church.
Okay. So like the house party leaders.
Yeah,
Cool.
kind of. I mean, obviously in some structures it's a little bit, different than that. But in our context, if you and I are the overseers of, the student ministry,
Yep.
they would be the deacons.
Cool. All right. That's neat.
That's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. And so as you read this, something you could talk about is why is it so important that the leaders of a church are really quality people? And maybe you could share stories of times where, like Nathan and I, we were just talking about some leaders of a church, not our church, a different church, not some good things happening, and like it's kind of tearing the church apart, it seems. I don't know, at least from the inside. And I don't know, and it's cool that there's such a high standard. And I don't know if I think there's a lot of churches that don't hold themselves to this standard anymore for their leaders. But for me, well, I don't know, again, I don't want to say too much, but I just want to tease you with the idea of what can happen when there is an organization or a church where you walk in knowing that the leaders are just really quality people.
Yeah, and talk about it, from the church angle, but also just as a person.
Yeah.
What do you do when there is no standard, no expectation, whatever? And again, once you read these lists, it's going to make sense. Maybe you need a dictionary to understand some of these words, which is totally fine. You guys mostly have phones anyways. But I think, honestly, that's a really, really good thing to lead into, because, I mean, you guys get it from so many other areas. We value authenticity. We value realness. We value people to be who they say they are. And if they're not, that's kind of a problem sometimes. And so maybe talk about these two lists. It's going to be verses basically 1 all the way through 13, and just go all right, so why is this a good thing? And in what situations could this be a really, really bad thing?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that honestly, that's almost all the chapter.
I know.
but honestly, I think there actually is something kind of worth paying attention to here.
Yeah.
And this to me answers the question of why Paul wrote this letter in the first place.
Cool.
It's verse 14. He says, "Hey Timothy, I hope to come to you soon." Because obviously Paul wanted to go visit Timothy in Ephesus, but he said, but I'm writing these things to you so that if I delay, right? So if I don't come, you may know how one ought to behave in the household of God, which is the church of the living God, a pillar and buttress of truth, right? So essentially, Paul's making it really clear, hey, all this stuff that I just listed off here in chapter 3, everything that's come before, everything that's coming after, the whole reason that I'm talking to you about this stuff is because I want you to know there is a certain way that God is calling you to live, right? Whether you want to call it an ethic, whether you want to call it behavior, and it's something we should be striving for.
Cool.
And I think that's important, right?
Yep.
And maybe you guys could talk about why that's important.
Yeah. Only other suggestion I have is verse 16 lists these big cryptic things, he was manifested in the flesh, vindicated by the Spirit, seen by angels, proclaimed among the nations, etc. If those don't ring any bells, I bet your house party leaders have some cool stories to tell you.
Your house party deacons.
Your house party deacons. We are the is it
The wizards.
the spiritual wizards?
No, we're the next gen wizards.
the next gen wizards,
And they're the
and
house
your
party
house party
deacons.
deacons. Yes, this is getting good. Oh man! Before we know it, we're just gonna be playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Jacob would really love that.
He would love that.
That would be so cool.
That would be cool.
Well, hey, I think that's going to really do it. This is a little bit of a
think
shorter
so.
video for you guys.
Yeah.
But I think the stuff that we want to invite you guys into, specifically in verses 1 to 13, like it's pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's pretty significant stuff, and you could talk about this in the context of a church, in the context of a Christian, even in the context of like different relationships you have, maybe
Yep.
parents, people you look up to.
Yep.
And if you got questions, ask your house party leaders. They'll be able to answer them.
Yeah.
If not, they'll text us, and we'll come in and be the overseer wizards and make it all work out.
Yeah, we'll Google it and then answer them as if we knew.
The whole time.
And if you have time left over, pray for each other. Talk
Yeah.
about what's going on in your life and just care for each other or share highs and lows or something. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back next week. See you guys.
Nice.
Did you read through chapter 3? You're like,